I could have left a comment on any of the videos
Joseph,
on your channel.
You asked me, do you remember deleting the comment? I said, well, I can't remember. So that's all I said, wallahi, about.
Do you remember that I posted a comment on your channel?
Well, I can't remember. I'm not the only person who's in charge of my YouTube channel. There's a few other people, and I can't remember. And even if you did,
it's not. It's in
but
the
here,
public.
okay, look.
Mohammed Hijab is a public figure.
No problem.
Who,
Joseph,
who
is there anything else you
seeks
want
to
to say?
propagate truth. He comes here to express a message, spread a message of haq, of truth. Yes, that's why you're here.
I hope so.
This puts a huge question over everything.
Because I deleted your comment.
And you don't remember it.
I mean, Joseph, this seems a bit desperate, man. Are you being serious right now?
You liar, man.
So if somebody refutes one of, basically the whole thing, the whole premise.
What's going on here, man?
You've never lied. You've never lied.
It's nothing to do with lying.
Joseph, is this looking a bit like you're clutching at straws a little bit and it's a bit desperate?
It's not a religious disagreement. Basically, the premise is
What premise? There's no argument being made. You're just saying I'm a hypocrite. That's okay. I concede. No problem. I'm a bad man. Okay.
That makes sense.
How does that make? I'm bad doesn't make Islam not true. I'm here to speak about Islam being true.
Then why would you remove comments that put questions on it? Why would you hide?
That debate was not even about Islam. It was about
about the treatment of Jews under Islam.
Yeah, okay. I didn't remove any comment from what I remember. How do we know you left the comment? I don't know, man.
No, I got a screenshot of it.
You can send it to me, man. You can put it up. Okay, look, Joseph, no problem. Say whatever you wanted to say on that comment, say it now. I'm giving you an opportunity.
Okay, so very, very simple. None of the sources that Adnan
Okay, so what? Okay, yeah, could you send that? Can you say that to Adnan Rashid?
Yeah, you can bring him here. We
Okay,
all three of us can have the conversation.
No, I don't need to. When he's there and he's researched this mas'ala, this issue, then you should speak to him about it, not me. I don't know why you've avoided him and come to me.
No,
and that's why
he didn't delete the comment. He will happily have an intellectual argument and doesn't need to hide challenges. He's not afraid. From my understanding of Adnan, when I've debated him, he's not afraid of difficult
questions. So why are you afraid of him? Why are you not going to go to him and ask him?
No, I'm asking you because he didn't delete the comment to hide from his viewers. Good challenge.
What was the problem?
The challenge was that none of the sources existed. I spoke to rabbis, I looked in my own library, I checked the internet. None of the sources that Adnan brought existed. I put this as questions on his channel.
Secondary source. So you're talking about primary sources?
Yeah, none of the primary sources.
Which you only mentioned one, by the way.
So unfortunately, I can't remember the other two.
You can't remember?
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. I can remember one of them.
So you were just attacking me because I can't remember, and you've come here all guns blazing. You can't remember the sources that you're talking about.
I can remember Petros Efron, and you can try and ridicule all you like. It doesn't change the fact
one thing.
that when your video was challenged, you removed
It's
the
not my video. It's actually Adnan and you.
Yeah, but you posted it on your channel.
Okay, no problem.
You framed the debate in a way that was insincere.
Is there anything else you want to say?
You framed the debate in a way that was insincere.
Okay, I'm bad. Okay, what else do you have to say?
That's it.
Sound like my wife, really. What can I?
Forgive me for interruption. We have come to listen to this gentleman, and you are behaving like a dog in the manger. I'm sorry to say.
Well done.
Sorry to say.
If you're sorry, it's okay. I forgive you.
We have come to listen to this gentleman. You are behaving like a dog in the manger.
I was here before you.
So Joseph,
can you allow us to listen to him?
do you want to talk about something meaningful?
Yes.
So I thought that was meaningful, but we can talk about something else.
Because I'm not here to defend myself. If you want to say I'm a bad man, I'm happy to take on the chin.
We can talk about how when Islam comes under attack, you will do everything to evade and to distract than deal with the actual accusation.
So what's Islam? Is Islam Muslims? Are you talking about Islam?
Muslims, talking about
civilization, or
I would talk more about civilization, like throughout history. But we can also talk about the actual religion itself. It'd be rather whichever. But I would say whenever either of those come under attack, you will do everything in your power.
Josie, you're a clever man. You're an individual that's done some education in this country. When you say the word Islam, and you refer to it as an inanimate, it's an entity, really. It's a set of ideas.
Yeah,
so you say it's like saying if Pythagoras' theorem comes under attack, Pythagoras' theorem attack and try and evade. It's not a living thing to react in that way, is it? It can only be enacted through people's actions, Muslims. Right?
People defend their ideology.
And if you're saying,
I'm saying that your way of defending yours isn't sincere.
No problem. I'm bad. No problem. There's very many bad Muslims. I'm sure you'd agree. There's many bad Jews as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so what's the discussion about?
The discussion is about you propagating dawah.
Okay. So it seems like you've got a gun with no bullets in it, and you're just shooting. You have nothing to say to me today, do you?
No, I absolutely have something to say.
Please,
to you.
please.
All right, so we can deal with the actual issue. The issue was Jewish civilization and Islamic civilization.
I think Adnan is better to deal with that.
Okay, so you said, is there anything we could talk about? I gave you a subject.
No. You agreed, by the way, in that discussion with him, and you know, if you want to go into detail, you can go into it with Adnan because he's done more research than me on this matter. But you agreed that there were points in Islamic history that Jews. That were treated well,
absolutely.
And that they lived harmoniously with Muslims. So that's fine. What we're saying is that the Islamic empires that existed aforetime for 1,200 years or whatever it was, they had the propensity to produce that kind of result. So it's not always.
What's that kind of result?
A result of harmony between Muslims, Christians,
okay, so
and
when
Jews.
the hadith talk about forcing the Jew to the narrow side of the road.
Okay, so let's deal with that, right? So the hadith that Sahih Muslim, which talks about فَأَطُّرُّهُمْ إِلَى side them, put them to the side of the tariq, of the way. And Nawawi comments on this because he does a sharh of Sahih Muslim, and he says about this that this is in the context of war.
So why does it talk about street? It doesn't talk about war anywhere.
It doesn't say street, it says tariq, the pathway.
Yeah, pathway.
No, but every hadith is surrounded by certain contexts. So An-Nawawi for us, he's a sharh. He does the sharh of the hadith. He's not an apologist. He lived a very long time, even before Ibn Taymiyyah. He's a person we take. So I'm giving you a scholarly source. You can check it. He's a Shafi'i. He says that this applies in the context of war. And this was connected to some of the wars that existed between the Muslims and the Romans at that time as well.
And so why then throughout Islamic history, when there was no war, when there were times of peace, this has been enacted?
Well, throughout Islam, look, Joseph, once again, you're a clever guy. When you say throughout Islamic history, I mean, there's so much history there to talk about in one breath.
Why should a religion that's perfect be subject to such gross interpretation or misinterpretation?
Well, I'm not conceding you the point that all of Islamic empires, from Spain to the Abbasids to the Umayyads to all of those empires, every single one of them had that kind of a relationship with Jewish people. I'm not conceding that to you, and I don't think you could prove that easily. I don't think I could,
so we've got lots of Jewish writings from Jews who lived under different caliphs.
Some caliphs might have done bad things, like the Muwahhidun, the Murabitun, and I agree, I accept. They were very harsh with Muslims, and they were very harsh with Jews.
Yeah.
So I agree with that. But what I'm saying is, I'm not here to defend those people. I'm here to I'm not. I'm here to defend the Quran and the Sunnah.
But that's what I'm saying. If the
So
Quran
I'm telling
and
you,
the
my
Sunnah
interpretation
can be perverted so easily.
No, anyone can have a bad interpretation of things.
So only you have the.
No, I quoted you a scholarly source.
But this is the difficulty with this argument. If something is divine and from God,
all right,
and the perfect instruction for humanity,
all right,
yet it talks about things which, on the surface, seem pretty bad. So slavery, forcing people.
So you talk about the Old Testament?
We can go there. Absolutely, we can go there.
No, hold on, because these things apply to the Old Testament.
So I agree. And I can give you a Jewish explanation.
So this argument applies to yourself, does it?
Yeah, we can definitely go
good.
there.
Right.
But you're saying this is a religion from God that's perfect and unchanging.
Yep.
Yet Muslims throughout history have based, I would say, quite.
You seem quite. What are you talking? Can you get to the point? I mean,
we just gave an example of.
And I've explained it. I say that I don't accept that interpretation. That's talking about war. It's talking about combat. And I've given you some scholarly sources.
But there are many scholars who are more authoritative
like
than
who?
you. So Ibn Kathir is an example.
What does he say? He doesn't do it. He doesn't do a sharh of the hadith. He does a tafsir of the Quran. And Nawawi does a sharh of Sahih Muslim, so it's more applicable here. And by the way, Nawawi is more authoritative than Ibn Kathir when it comes to hadith because he was a muhaddith, whereas Ibn Kathir was a mufassir. Okay, and he came after him, by the way.
And that's fine, but is he obviously not more authoritative than you, Ibn Kathir?
Yeah, but I know he's more authoritative than Ibn Kathir in this. What I'm trying to say to you is, I'm not denying the. Look, before you do this, let me agree with you, right?
Okay.
There's verses of the Quran and ahadith that the Prophet narrated, which can be conceivably used, by jurists and lay people in order to create some kind of to create problems for different communities. Okay, and I think the same thing can be applied to every religion.
I agree.
And more specifically the Abrahamic ones, right?
So, I would agree, and I think here's the distinction.
And
between
I'm just telling you, me personally, my personal opinion on that hadith is as follows: that it does not apply in a generic sense, even if Jews and Christians lived with underneath Islamic law.
We could go through every single
And
one.
I've given you my source, it's not
go
for
with
me.
Jews being able to live in Mecca and Medina. We go to Muslims being able to capture slaves at time of war.
Well,
we could do with legalized rape. There's so many different areas which could be perceived by someone like you and myself as slightly problematic.
So you said the third thing, let's just deal with the most egregious of those contentions, which is the third one you've mentioned, which can, I think, easily be repudiated.
Which one's that? Rape?
Yeah, so you said legalized rape.
Yeah.
So can you give me your source for this?
So an example would be when you take a slave. A Muslim is allowed to have relations with his slave.
Okay.
And then there's a question on the status of the children. There's a question on...
What is the question on the status of the children?
So,
No, you don't need your phone. Just
I do need my phone because I don't want to say something incorrect.
Okay, well, you've already done that. So
Okay, so you're saying that a Muslim
Yep.
is not allowed to have relations with a slave woman?
what I'm saying, let's be very clear. You said legalization of rape. Yes?
But that's what that is
No,
by
no,
British
I
law.
said that
By
that
British
can-
law, that's law. You
no.
can't... Can a Muslim, can a wife refuse her husband?
Yes.
That's not what the Quran
No, hold on. If she refuses her husband, the man can't force her. And the same
what
thing.
does- what does the-
Well, hold on.
what's the
Let me
Quran say?
explain.
What's the Quran say
Can I explain?
Yeah.
The
then
Quran
we'll
doesn't
go on to
mention this.
slave
There's the
women.
word ikhtisab is not in the Quran.
It talks about you go and plough a field or something from memory.
Yeah, نساءكم حرث لكم فأتوا حرثكم أن شئتم. Your women are a tilth for you, so plough your tilth whenever you want.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean that you can force them.
So does a
And
woman need a consent?
Yes. Can I give you?
Can you show me?
Yes.
Hadith?
Yes.
Oh, yeah,
Yes.
speaks to that.
Yes. So you said, and by the way, not only just at the time where there was indentured servants, they need to consent as well. Based on what hadith?
Indentured servants or slaves?
You can call them slaves if you want. I don't mind.
I mean, no. What's this? Just for the
But
camera
by the
for
way,
myself, can you make a
well,
distinction?
actually, an indentured servant, from an academic perspective, is a type of slave. But it's a type of slave which is not, child slavery or something like that. But going back, going back.
Stop, no.
Yep.
How does a slave that's captured in a time of war relate to what you just described?
Yeah. So that's exactly.
Can
what
the
I'm talking
slave who was captured at a
Yeah.
time of war go free?
about. Yes.
No, they can't.
Okay. No, you've asked me a question, then you've answered it for me.
Okay, so I don't believe that's true. How
Okay,
can
can
a
I?
slave go
Well,
free?
no, you've asked two questions, and I'm giving you the answer you don't want to hear. All right. So the first question you asked was, can a woman decide not to have sex with her husband? Yes, she'd be sinful for it, just like the husband.
Okay, so you should be sinful.
Yeah. No, hold on. Can you allow me?
Yeah.
The husband and the wife, when they get a nikah, which is the contract of marriage, which many scholars say is a business contract. That's what it is in essence. Like Ibn Qudamah says that a lot of Hanafi say that. If the husband refuses the wife for no good reason, or the wife refuses the husband, it's exactly the same either way, because if there's no good reason, there's no marad, there's no disease or anything like that, the whole point of marriage is that you're meant to facilitate, it's meant to be facilitative, it's meant to make things easy for each other. Now the reason why, by the way, sorry George, look, put it away if you don't mind for a second. Let's have a one-to-one discussion. It's not about just attacking Islam and this. Let's have a discussion, like, honestly. If you really want to learn and this and that, we can do it.
No, I just need sources to respond because I'm not Muslim.
I will
I'm not an expert like yourself.
No, I'm not an expert, but I'm quoting the expert.
And the issue with last time was I believe Adnan didn't know his sources, so I just want to make sure what I say is
I will
correct.
tell you exactly what. Can you look at me, please? I'm sorry. I try and pay you the courtesy of looking at you. So, look, what I was going to say is that the question of rape is absolutely unacceptable in Islam. What's the evidence from that? The evidence for that is what Ash-Shafi'i wrote from the Quran and Sunnah. La darar wa la dirar. Hadith. You can't cause harm to yourself or reciprocate harm. You can't cause harm to other people. And so, based on this hadith, all of the scholars of Islam would say, because if you have sex with a woman, sorry to be very explicit here, but without her consent, without her wanting to do it, it's going to cause her harm. Would you agree?
I would agree.
Yes.
But
No. Yeah. And Ash-Shafi'i would agree. Malik would agree. And in fact, it's mentioned in their books, where both of those men, in the case of Malik, it's been narrated upon him, but in the case of Ash-Shafi'i, in his Kitab source, his Kitab is called Kitab where he says, with an indentured servant, if she refuses you, in other words, she does not give her a consent, and you force yourself upon her, then you are actually you have a punitive punishment administered upon you. Now the second question you asked was, can an indentured servant be freed if they want to? And the answer to that is categorically yes. And what's the evidence for that? It's in chapter 24 verse 33, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about mukataba. Now what is mukataba? According to Al-Qurtubi, who is a Mufassir of the Quran in Spain, and one of the most authoritative in the Islamic history, he said that a mukataba, and he quoted some Salaf, he quoted some Sahabis. He said that, like Ibn Mas'ud and others, if someone who's living in the house of an individual wants to be freed and says, look, I don't want to be with you and I don't want to be in this setup anymore, and they go to Al-Qadi, which is a judge, and then they tell the judge, I don't want to be in this house anymore, and if they don't have a criminal record, in alima fihim khayra.
And this is non-Muslims?
Non-Muslims as well. Yes, non-Muslims as well.
Okay, so just because can you explain that?
Yeah.
So
can
you're
I
telling
explain?
me that just very quickly, you're telling me that at a time of
No,
war,
but you didn't let me finish that last sentence. Sorry, I apologize. So in that case, if they go to the Qadi, Al-Qurtubi says, they can forcibly be freed. So in other words, if that person is not happy in that situation, they will forcibly be freed. In other words, why is it now? The question is, why would someone want to be in that situation? The reason is because remember, this is an ancient time. You didn't have social housing. You didn't have accommodations and so on. Some people literally felt like that was only going to be their only way that they can reintegrate into a society, to get provisions, to be protected by the military men that were living in their homes and so on. So some people opted, and this is in the historical record as well, up until the Mamalik, both in Egypt and in India, to be part of that system. So what I'm saying is that, Islamically speaking, that opinion does exist, and it's mentioned in our sources, and I've given you the sources. Do you see what I'm saying?
So I see what you're saying.
And is that fair? Is that fair to say that?
الإعجاب بالفيديو والاشتراك في القناة تشجيعا لنا لنستمر بنشر المزيد إن شاء الله.